Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Authors Up, the favorite place to be on Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. And you all right down there, Queen Victoria?
I'm all
You
right.
okay?
It's I don't know. My eyes are bothering me tonight, but it's okay. I
Okay.
don't know what's going on.
Well, we're saying good evening to all of our viewers and all of our listeners, and we're glad that you are here with us tonight. We have a wonderful show planned for you. We have an absolutely amazing guest, and we've been talking with him a little bit behind the scenes, and you're in for a treat. That's all I can say. You are in for a treat tonight.
Amen.
We're going to get my co-host to welcome you this evening. Hey there, Ruth. How are you doing?
I am doing good. How are you, Andrea?
I am doing well. Thank you
Good,
very
good.
much. Thank you
Yeah.
for asking.
Well, you're welcome.
And Queen Victoria, how are you doing tonight?
Queen is fine as she can see, but she's
No. Do you wear contacts or anything, Victoria?
no, but I do wear glasses. Let me get them.
Okay. Maybe that's what we need tonight is some glasses. And
Maybe. How about that?
Yeah. Do you have allergies? Is that what that is?
Yeah, I might have them too because my nose is running a little bit too.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, that's the one thing my doctor said. She was like, well, North Carolina has, it's just allergy season all year round.
of things
So,
that will make your nose run and your eyes itch and
yes.
all that good stuff. We hope that as we go forward, you will be feeling better throughout the show.
Do I look like Miss Magoo now?
No.
And we got Miss Linda Cooks is on the line with us this evening, and we welcome her and anyone else who is joining us tonight.
Yes.
Don't hide out in the shadows. Give us a hello and give us a comment in the comment section so that we know that you're with us and enjoying what it is we are doing this evening. But before we get started, before we really delve into the book that we're going to share with you tonight, we're going to give you a little weekend review, a peek at what's been up with us this week. And we're going to start with Victoria. What's been going on with you, Victoria, other than your eyes and your glasses? And
I'm like, they're getting get a little cloudy, and then I could see, and then they get back a little cloudy again. I was like, what is going on? I don't know. But I am. Good evening, Nakayeta. I'm okay. This has been a very interesting week. I've been excited, y'all, all week long because I want to tell y'all. After we have been talking about AI, me and Buddy have been working some things out.
all right.
And
tell them who Buddy is.
Yes.
Buddy is my friend on GPT or whatever you call it. Chat GPT. And I'm gonna tell y'all, I am like really could see the end of my story with using Buddy to help me kind of formulate the ideas. Buddy has helped me work out some of the scenarios, and I've been able to go back and forth with tweaking it. I could see the end of the story, and I even started doing some covers, as you guys know, because I can show it to you. And I'm like, I cannot believe in just this short amount of time, I'm near the end of this story. Well, I knew the end. It was just connecting the middle pieces in such a profound way with helping with my buddy. And I'm telling y'all, do not be afraid of this AI stuff. I just really said what I wanted to, what it was going to look like for me. And Buddy would give me scenarios and which one do you want to choose from? Well, let's try that one. And it's all working, it's all connecting. I see the end of the book in sight. Actually, we've been working concurrently on both books. So I'm so excited. I just wanted to tell you that I was so grateful that we did talk about the AI and that little gentle push to go ahead and do it because it is working for Victoria. And I'm like, what did I do before that? I'm giving myself a headache trying to get this all together and even help me with the title of the book. I'm so excited, y'all. I'm so excited. I really think this book is going to be in print sooner than later.
Sooner than later.
I'm so excited. So that was my week, and I'm trying to do this between working but I've really been dedicating more time to the books, and I'm so excited. I'm gonna stop now.
Well, I tell you, you're gonna be surprised at this because I also went on to Chat GPT.
Really?
You did? I'm so excited.
I did, and my friend's name is Willow. And I'm telling you, it is something that you can get hooked to very, very quickly. And it really is like talking to a person back and forth. I remember there was a movie long time ago out, and this kid had tapped into a computer. And every time he would turn his system on, the computer would say, "Shall we play a game?"
War games. War games.
War games. That's exactly
Yes.
right. And I thought about that immediately because about the third or fourth question, I thought, oh wait, I'm beginning to talk to this like it's my best friend next door.
And my buddy is.
And I can't wait to get back and finish the conversation and see what Willow has come up with the questions that I asked. So it was really it's quite exciting. It is quite exciting. And I said I wasn't going to tell you all until the show because I wanted to surprise you and let you know.
And you did.
I'm really
I couldn't wait.
I am into it now and I'm going to keep going with it. And it starts off by asking, what do you want to talk about? But it is so conversational,
Yes.
that I find myself saying, "Oh well, I think we should talk about." And I think, "Are you typing this stuff? What are you doing?" But it is great fun. I hope to yield some good benefits from it. I really, really do, and not get carried away and not get pulled in too deeply. But that on top of the fact that hackers seem to want to take my life.
Okay.
I finally did get my computer back the other day, so I've got some things that I need to change and fix and do to make sure that I am keeping it clean and void of viruses and all of that, because that was quite a mess. And my third mess was, you all have heard the saga of basement and flooding and all that kind of thing. Well, the saga continues, and it is not a very happy picture. But in spite of all of that, I was reminded that through it all, I have it better than many, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for where I am. And I am also, it is a good place to be where you finally know and understand to take your hands off the things that you cannot control.
Amen. Yes.
I can't fix the situation, but I can make sure that they do.
Amen.
And so
that's true.
now I had to kind of take my hands off and say, I'm not going to get a headache over this, and I'm not going to allow myself to not be happy. It was one funny thing, though. He said to me, he said, well, I have good news and I have bad news. And I said, well, before you tell me, let me tell you this. If it's bad news for me, it's going to be worse news for you. Are we clear? Drop the mic. That's where we're going to be on this. So it will be an interesting saga. And one day I'll come back on and say, done.
All right.
All fixed, all repaired. But it has kept me at a place where my breathing isn't good and all kinds of other things. But I am still here. We are live. I am grateful. And it's been interesting. That's all I can say. But I can't wait to have future stories about my friend Willow. So we'll see what happens.
All right. I'm so proud of you. Let me just say that. I'm so proud of you.
I am too.
Okay. What about you, Ruth?
What's going on with you?
Okay, I did not go on ChatGPT this week. You know what? I downloaded the app, and I was like, you know what? I have no nothing to use it for right now. So I'm like, it goes on the shelf, and it had to because on Friday my dad's girlfriend called and said my dad was in the hospital, and I was like, oh, well, it was serious, but my dad is 75 years old. This is the one with the 5-year-old child.
Right.
He has heart issues. It's hereditary. He actually had heart surgery a few weeks ago. And when I talked to him after he went home from the hospital, like 2 days later, I was like, well, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I'm actually out and about. I just came from a job. I have a little indigestion because I went to eat at Taco Bell. I'm like, you are not fine. No. So I had been planning to go to New York with my daughter on Monday, and I was like, okay, look, I'm going to detour, go to Jersey and visit with my dad. And it was a good visit. But my dad is still not eating well. He's still smoking. If you ask him how he's doing, he will tell you that he's fine. He's fine. He's really good.
Right.
He's hard-headed.
Yeah.
Now I know where I get it from. But
you said it. We didn't say it. You said
I said, and you know what? And I can recognize it. And you know, I shared this with our kids because after my father-in-law passed away last year, you know, we had a conversation with them, and we were like, you know, we want, you know, because my father-in-law kept stuff from us because he didn't want us to worry. He was from that generation. Just does not. They're not open with sharing because they don't want to be a burden to the younger generation, but they don't realize that they're not a burden. So, you know, we've been telling our kids, we're not going to do what they did. And when I shared all this with my daughter, she was like, don't you ever do that. I'm like, don't worry. You tell me to go left, I'm going to go left. Tell me to go right, I'm going to be there. You tell me to sit down and be quiet, I will sit down and be quiet. I am not doing that. I am not doing that. So, like I said, it was a good visit. My 5-year-old little sister was just, I mean, she's a brat, but I love her to pieces. And I say that with all the love in my heart. She was just funny. And actually, after I left, I went back to the city because we were staying in Flushing, and she had fallen asleep, so she didn't see me off, and she woke up and she wanted me there. And my dad just FaceTimed me, and she was just laying on the couch just crying, and she's like, I want you to come back. I'm like, oh. But I have to break your heart because I'm not coming back for a minute. But yeah, no, but it was a good visit. So
good.
Yes, got that. That's what I was doing this past week. So it was a good week.
Good.
Very good.
Yes, but that brings us to tonight. So
Victoria. Yes. I'm excited. We have a wonderful author waiting in the wings, and let me read you a little about him since I have my specs on now. Joseph Bolton was born in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, during the twilight of the golden age of French Canadian culture in New England. He is of French Canadian, Native American, Spanish, English, and Irish descent and is profoundly inspired by the stories of his heritage. Growing up immersed in his mother's French Canadian family, Joseph enjoyed hearing the stories told by his grandparents and great aunts of a mysterious and magical place called Quebec, otherwise known as the place we came from. After high school, Joseph's adventurous nature led him to enlist in the U.S. Army, and he served in the Army's airborne forces as a paratrooper, jumping out of perfectly good airplanes, much to the worry of his mother. He originally intended to stay in the Army for 2 years, was appointed to the United States Military Academy at West Point, and decided to make the Army his career. He served in the Army in various positions, culminating with a combat tour in Afghanistan, as one of two space operations officers with the U.S. Army's 10th Mountain Division. Since he retired from the Army, Joseph has worked in various project manager roles as a civilian contractor for the United States Air Force. While writing Old Grandmother's Tree, he took a sabbatical from the U.S. Air Force and taught mathematics to young students for a semester at Holy Family Academy in Gardner, Massachusetts, and considers it the most fulfilling job he has ever had and hopes to return to teaching full time in the near future. Bolton lives with his wife in Massachusetts. When he is not riding, hiking, or skiing, he enjoys reading about science, history, philosophy, mathematics, and worldwide mythologies. Old Grandmother's Tree is his first book. We will be right back after a brief break, and we will be meeting and talking with Mr. Bolton about Old Grandmother's Tree. Talk to you soon.
And we're back.
Yes, yes.
Hey,
Um,
welcome.
Hello.
we
Very
are
happy to be here.
so happy to have you, Joseph. Thank you for coming on our show.
Oh, absolutely. I'm very happy to be here today. Very excited.
Awesome. Well, we want to start by hearing about Old Grandmother's Tree. Tell us about your book.
So it's a very unique book, Old Grandmother's Tree. And it's a 2 volume set right now. There is a third volume that'll be coming out next month, and a fourth volume is in production right now, and it'll be coming out next year.
Awesome.
And yes, very exciting. And Old Grandmother, what it is, it's a retelling of my mother's French Canadian family history and my Algonquin ancestor, her story. Her name was Mitiogoku. She has a very remarkable story. She is actually the old grandmother of the old grandmother collection of stories. And although she's not in every story, she's mentioned in almost every one.
Mm-hmm.
And she is the hub at the center of the wheel that makes up the whole old grandmother tree stories. So it's not the first time. Many other people have written books about their ancestors, historical fiction. But what makes this book really interesting is that it is based on true history, but the setting is a reimagined Quebec with magic and folklore and trickster animal characters. So it's a mixture of true history, but also told in the language of folktales, which I think is a universal language.
Yeah.
And it's fully illustrated. It's another thing that makes it very unique. It's almost a graphic novel. In the first 2 volumes, there's 450 beautiful full color illustrations by Natasha Pelly Smith, assisted with help from storyboard artist Masami Kiyono out of Manhattan. Natasha is actually from Toronto. And so that's kind of a quick summary of the book. Very excited to share with you, talk to you all about it tonight.
That is awesome.
Right.
Now, I have to ask, what drew you to tell these stories in the form that you did? Because you could have just written them down. I mean, your ancestor was truly a remarkable woman. And to be descent from her, I mean, anybody would want to tell her story, but what drew you to tell the stories the way you did?
Well, I think I'm a very imaginative person. As a kid, I was very imaginative. I made up stories that I actually tried to tell people were true, but I was very imaginative, and I'm still an imaginative adult. I'm also very visual. I love when I wrote these stories. I didn't write them with an outline. Some people write an outline and kind of fill in the blanks. I would see all these stories like a movie in my head.
Yeah.
Wow.
See it, see the characters, and see everything that happened. And all I did was write it down. So, being a very visual person, it naturally led to wanting to illustrate these stories because I want to see what these characters look like.
Uh-huh.
I also, have a sense of humor. So the books are very serious sometimes. Sometimes they're poignant. Other times they're just funny and silly.
Uh-huh.
But the stories are very much like that. So that's how I created the format. And the other part of that was that folklore is a universal language. Every culture has folk tales.
Yes.
And if you read the stories, it'll say, it feels familiar, like you've read it somewhere, even though they're all original. That's because they're in that style of a folk tale. We
Mhm.
understand that as human beings. And folk tales talk about how we live as people. And so that's why I chose the format that I did.
Okay. So you chose your ancestors as characters in the book. Um, I imagine that you see it as a way to honor them and share the stories that you were shared, that were shared with you growing up.
Right. And Mitio Goku, we didn't know about her when I was growing up. Back this is before we had the internet. You could research your family history or DNA test. So I really discovered Mitio Goku with the DNA tests. I gave my mother and her siblings that said, "Oh, well, you actually have Native American ancestry." It showed up on my
Oh, wow.
mother's DNA, and I, using Ancestry, was able to find those connections. And as I discovered Mitio Goku, I realized what a remarkable story it had. And the other thing that makes it interesting is that her life story is very well documented for someone who lived in the 17th century, and
Wow.
not only as a woman but a native woman as well. And when she passed away, her parish priest in Troy Riviera wrote this about her, and he said, "Mitio Goku lived a full life with dignity, respect, and love, a courageous and loving Algonquin woman." And those two beautiful lines, to me, it's the most beautiful eulogy I think could ever be said about any of us.
Amen.
And those two lines became the heart of the story because I said, what does it mean that she lived a full life with dignity and respect? And her life actually as an adult began with tragedy. She was married to another Algonquin named Assababish, and they had two small children. And raiders up from New York, Native American raiders from New York, came up. They attacked her village in Trois-Rivières in Quebec. Her husband was killed in the attack, and her two small children were kidnapped and taken from her.
Oh,
And
wow.
she never knew what happened to them her entire life. The rest of her life, they just disappeared. But
Wow.
she never knew what happened to them.
Mm.
And she was 22 years old when that happened.
Wow.
And it's very easy to imagine a young person falling into despair or bitterness. But, 5 years later, she married a settler named Pierre Calque, and together, Mitio Goku and Pierre became my ancestors, and not just mine, but the ancestor of thousands of people in Quebec, Canada, and the United States. She's
Oh.
had an incredible impact, and she's the ancestor of many people. And so she went at 22 from tragedy to the very end of her life, a priest would take the time to write that about her, that she lived a full life with dignity, respect, love, and courage. And so those two things, the story of that tragedy in the beginning and how she overcame it and how she came at the end of her life, who she was as a person, that became the heart of the old grandmother's tree story.
Oh, wow.
I love
That's
that.
beautiful.
It is.
It's beautiful. Give me
So,
goosebumps.
so I have to ask because I thoroughly enjoyed reading your book, and I am, a full-grown adult. Who is your audience?
It's everybody. It's everybody. I remember when I first started writing the book, and I was working very early on in the stories. And one of the illustrations in the first volume shows the morning after Pierre and Mitiogoku's wedding. So it's
Yeah.
the morning after the wedding night.
Mm-hmm.
And they're camping outside, and they're under the blankets. And although you don't see anything, it's obvious they're not wearing any clothes.
Right.
It's very natural. And then the sun is rising behind them. It was designed to be kind of almost to evoke the Garden of Eden and a new beginning and a new creation. And when I first had that illustration, one of the editor team members said, you can't have that in a children's book. Who says I'm writing only for children? My goal is to write a good story, a story that everybody will like.
Right.
And having them and that pose right there after their wedding is very key to the story at that moment. And it's natural and it's beautiful and it's staying. And so that kind of drove the direction of the story. So of course, years from now, I still have to deal with that decision because some people still ask me, is this a kid's book? Kids? And well, what do I do if I show the picture of these two naked, a man and woman naked in bed? What do I, it is, but it wouldn't be true to show them any other way, I don't think.
Right.
And
right.
And I think showing them that way was a way of showing that they had that sense of trust and love between the two of them. So anyway, long story short, I'm still paying for that decision because it does create confusion because people look at it and go, oh, look at all these talking funny animals. But people do read it to their grandchildren. Don't make a mistake. It is, children will like it. Some very, very small children may find some of that imagery kind of confusing, but is nothing. It's written for everybody, but so adults and children. It's not a baby book. I tell people that.
And I have to say, because to me that was my favorite story. I loved I will say I love the animals. I love the bear and the raccoon, I think it was. I love that they go throughout. I love the turtle, but to me, I loved that you began with your ancestor, and I cannot say her name. Forgive me. Yes, but I love that you started it with her, and you brought it back to the title of the book. It was her. Even though she is 22, she is young. She will one day be the old grandmother, and she doesn't see it yet, but they're already calling her that. And to me, I loved the story. And honestly, I mean, I was enjoying it. And when I had the books, I was like, oh, I have a new granddaughter. I usually talk about her in the show, so you got spared today. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to save these. I'm going to get all the volumes for her when she gets old enough, because it is laid out in such a way that it's easy for a young reader to go through the book and to enjoy the stories. I mean, I love when they, going down the hill with the toboggan, the animals were great. And I think that most kids would enjoy it. But as an adult, I think adults will enjoy the book as well. So I wanted to ask you about your writing process. You said, and this is what we call people who do what you do on this show. You're a unicorn because you just sat down and wrote. We don't do that. So how was the writing process for you? I mean, how long did it take? What was, you said this is your first book. So were you a writer before that?
Well, actually, when my brother died in 2013 from ALS, I started writing then as a way just
Okay.
for myself. And I wrote a blog, really not fiction stories, but mostly essays. I just wrote it for myself. People could read it if they wanted to. But I would write on science, I'd write on philosophy, I'd write on my family members, religion, mathematics, just about anything I wanted to write about. But it was something for me. So that's when I started writing. And when a couple of years ago, I started learning French because as I got to know my French Canadian ancestors, I wanted to connect with them. So the very first story I wrote was La Trope de Sabot, which is the one where the farm animals sneak out at midnight, grab the toboggan, and slide down the hill, and they're caught by the farm wife, who, instead of chastising him, decides to just get on the toboggan and just go with it and slides down the hill with them. That was the very first story I wrote.
Wow.
Okay.
And when I wrote it, I just wanted to write something cute. And I didn't really have a plan for a book at that time. But it really started from the shawl that my great grandmother, and that's the main character of the story, my great great grandmother Delia, she was wearing this magic shawl. Then the question became, well, where did that shawl come from? So I started thinking about a backstory. And about that time, I realized that about that my great great grandmother is the descendant of Mitio Goku. That's where the line from her to me goes through her. And so I said, well, I know the shawl comes from Mitio Goku. And so then I started writing the backstory about how she married her husband. And so then it just kind of blossomed from there. And then it's like one of those things. I'm like a little kid who sees something on the ground that's really pretty. Oh, I'm going to grab that. So you pick that stone up. It's really nice. You go, oh, there's another one. And you go grab that one. I really didn't have a plan. I was just going from story to story to story. And I was driving my editor crazy because I'm like, hey, Alexa, that's her name. I said, I got another story I want to add to the book. And she's like, oh. Yes. And then working with my artists too, they're like, hey, Natasha, Masami, I created another story and it's really great. We got it included in there. And I can already see your illustrations. I know what they're going to look like, which is true. And they're kind of roll their eyes, but they're like, they hung with me. Those two ladies, they hung with me and we did it. And what started off as just one story about 1,500 words grew to a story, I think final version is about 3,000 words. And it became a book, a monster book. It was like 40,000 words, 450 illustrations. And then the most interesting thing had happened. We tried to shove it up into the Amazon KDP system, right? Like, we're trying to push it in there. And guess what? Amazon said, I can't do this. It's too big. So it's too big. It's like 500 megabytes.
Wow.
So it's it was a huge book. It'd be about 3 or 4 inches tall. You imagine a book about 600 pages. It would have been a tome.
Wow.
So what we did, it actually worked out well because we made the decision, let's split it into 2 volumes. So that's how we got 2 volumes. But then I'm like that little kid again. Well, we got 2 volumes.
Yeah.
Why don't we make a 3rd volume? So I did that. So that's where I'm at right now. So now it's become a book series.
Wow.
And I'm very much in the moment when I write. I don't really have a plan so much as I see the stories percolate in my mind, especially I'm laying in bed at night and I'm thinking through it and I see it as a movie, and then eventually reaches a point where I just can't stand it anymore and I get in front of the computer and I type it all out and there it is. So that's my writing process.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Fascinating. This is truly fascinating to me.
Yeah. So, but that's the way I do it. I write by feel.
That's awesome.
And I create in the moment when I'm ready.
Wow.
That's awesome. All right, Andrea, what you got?
I don't have much because there's something that we wanted Joseph to do because we asked him beforehand to pick out something that he is going to read to us. So I just have a couple of things. One thing, when you were talking about who is your audience, one thing that the book brought to mind was as a child, my mother reading to me, and I still remember the name of it, a book called Snow White and Rose Red. And it was back in the day,
Oh.
the Brothers Grimm, and
Mhm.
Lena and Hansel and Gretel, and all those kinds of stories that that's era of story time. And it's interesting
Right.
because we've been talking about story time and storytelling and all of these things, and to have your book so beautifully done. And you are right. It is just unique. It is unique in the characters that you present, in the way that you present them. And I can see my grandchildren talking about your book the same way that I talk about the books that my mom read to me, when I was a child. They are so engaging and so inviting, and the characters are just wonderful. The illustrations are just wonderful. And I'm going to steal Victoria's line and tell everybody to get the book.
Go for it. I'm good. I'm good tonight. I'm good.
You got to see it for yourself. You got to hear it for yourself. And I am
Yeah.
so happy to know that you did not sacrifice the story for the
Yes.
size of the book.
Yeah.
That you went the route of saying, I'm not going to try to tell this tale a different way. We're just going to put it in another volume so that people will be able to enjoy the essence of the entire story. And I am so, so glad that you did that, because each story in and of itself is just like you said, it is unique, it is amazing, it is beautifully done. And I'm glad that we not only had the opportunity to see it, but to hear how the characters came about, because that was one thing that I wanted to ask you about. Where did you get these characters? What were they based on? What were those stories behind it? And you talking about the backstory, and that's a unique opportunity for us to get to hear that side. And it's just, Joseph, is just wonderfully done. And I that's all I have, because I want to hear you read. I want to hear you read. And we've got a lot of other questions.
Would you like me to pick a chapter to read, or you want me to show you the illustrations?
Which way do you want to go, Ruth? Can we do both?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, one of the things I was talking about was like the illustrative process. I actually have two artists. I have a storyboard artist who kind of like, that's the person who goes in there and clears the forest and builds the dirt road through the forest. And then I have Natasha, who's the final artist, and she's the one who creates this beautiful road and beautiful city off this dirt road that Masami worked on. And the book is so big, you really do need two artists, because you'd burn out if you had one artist do the storyboard work, which is the thinking part, and and the final work. So I wanted to show you one illustration here. Let me just pull it up. This is what I'm going to show you here. This is what the rough illustration looks like. So this is a story that's coming out next month. It's called Dance of Creation. So you on the left, you see a map of Quebec, and this is a rough sketch. So you see, it looks pretty good. You can see, the river. You can see characters down scattered throughout the map. And this character is Wasea. He's the giant, also known as Jean Poilu, and he's wondering where his brothers and sisters are, and he feels a sense of missing them. So that's what it looks like. That's like the rough sketch. Now, if we go to, I will show you now.
Look at that. Oh my.
So that's the final. This is what Natasha did. It's not published yet, but it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
But isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
She took that rough sketch and she created this concept of like an old-fashioned map. And if you look at it carefully, you can see that the paper is kind of rough on the edges because it's a map. And you can see the characters on there. You can see the locations marked on there. And as a kid, I loved maps. I think a lot of kids love maps because you can explore in your mind in a map. You can pretend that you're in there and you're going to different places. And so that's what this is. And it's going to be in the next book called Dance of Creation. But you can see, that'll give you a sense of the artistic creative process. So that's that part. So you want me to read a portion? There's a lot of good stuff to read.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, show us the book at first. Please show us the cover.
Okay. So this, I'm going to read maybe from volume 2.
Okay.
So this is volume 2. And my favorite, I don't know if anyone has the book there, but my favorite chapter, and in a lot of ways very biographical for me, is chapter 4. And it's called The Talk on the Way Back to Mount Orford. And I don't know if I can read the whole thing. It's about 6 or 7 pages, or you want me to just read? Maybe I'll just read towards the end. I'll just tell you what happened.
Okay.
So anyway, this is Poku the moose and his uncle McKeish the turtle. And they're walking back to their home on Mount Orford in Quebec, which is a real mountain. And they just had a series of misadventures in the village of Saint Honoré. Saint Honoré had like a harvest festival, and McKeish thought just a little turtle, he thought he could do more than he really could. He tried throwing an axe. He couldn't throw an axe. He tried getting into a log rolling contest with a big burly lumberjack, and he tried to knock the lumberjack off. He couldn't do that, and it ended up with the lumberjack sitting in the water and McKeish the turtle on his head. It's a very funny illustration. I love that one. So anyway, McKeish is riding back, and he's feeling a little grumpy. And he's think about him as an older aunt, uncle, maybe you have. And he's going on, and he's saying, he's complaining to his nephew. He said, "Nephew, you must be disappointed in me. I couldn't throw the axe." And he says, "You're a turtle. You're not supposed to throw an axe." And he says, but I couldn't knock LaRue off. That's okay. That's all right. His nephew Poku was saying, that's okay. And Poku, and finally McKeish gets really frustrated, and he goes to Poku and he says, "Well, you must get tired of me. After all, I repeat all my stories." Don't we have all relatives that repeat all the stories, right? His nephew is so patient with him. His nephew, the moose, says, "Yes, you do, Uncle. You do repeat all your stories. And I learn something new with every retelling." And finally, McKeish says, "Okay, stop, nephew." And Poku stops, and he turns his head back, and he looks back at his uncle McKeish, who's riding on his back. And McKeish says, "I have something to ask you, nephew Poku." "What is it, Uncle McKeish?" "Will you allow an old being like myself the dignity of self-pity?" And Poku says, "No, Uncle, I will not." "Yes, you are old, and it's a wonderful thing. You are the second being created after the Creator danced the world into existence." But listen to me," McKeish interjected. "Hear me out, Uncle. I am only 5,763 years old. I am a child," says Poku the moose, "and I have learned much from you. I never tire of hearing your stories of how the great ice covered the mountains when the world was young, and how you and your brother, my father, brought fire and water to the people when they first wandered into the land." Poku turned his head back to the front and started to walk again. "Well, McKeish was quieter now. Poku stopped again and turned his head back to McKeish. "The people would not have survived without you and your brother. You taught them stories to tell their children. You taught them to be kind, and you taught them to take care of themselves and each other." Poku and McKeish looked at each other in silence for a moment before Poku continued. "I do not care, Uncle, that you could not throw an axe or that you could not roll LaRue off the log. You are the best uncle to me. I love our adventures together, and I love your stories, and I love you." And with that, Poku turned back to the front and continued on to Mount Orford. "Nephew Poku, thank you. Uncle McKeish, if I am kind, it is only because I learned it from you. The pair continued down the trail in silence, accompanied only by the sound of the wind blowing through the leafless trees. After walking this way for a while, McKeish again spoke up. So, nephew Poku, did I ever tell you of the time that grandfather Charles challenged me to a wrestling match? Oh, no, you did not, Uncle McKeish. Poku stopped and turned his head around to look back at his uncle. A story will be a wonderful way to pass the time on the way home. McKeish smiled as he began his story. It was in the old days, and all the people were saying that Grandfather Charles was the greatest wrestler, not only his village, but in the world. You will soon learn this, nephew Poku, but the people can be such boastful children sometimes. Of course, I had to go to that village and meet this Grandfather Charles myself. And the story continued all the way to the top of Mount Orford. And as he did with every retelling of the story of Uncle McKeish wrestling Grandfather Charles, Poku learned something new.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Wonderful, Joseph. Wonderful, wonderful.
And
Thank you.
oh, you're welcome. And it's my favorite because, in my point in my life, I am actually Poku sometimes with my older aunts and uncles who are still with us.
Yes.
And sometimes I'm McKeish, and I need that reassurance from my nephews and nieces who are like 30 years old or in their 20s.
Yeah.
Right.
So I was really, of all the conversations, that story is probably the one that comes closest to me talking to myself. So between those two characters, but it is my favorite part of the story, and it really is the heart of it because it talks about respect for our elders,
Right.
and reaching out to our elders and listening to our elders and loving our elders, and the value of storytelling. Here they are, the two, Poku is the moose has his uncle on his back, and they're going home, and they're talking about stories to tell each other. They're not looking at phones or ignoring each other in the car ride, for example. People are talking to each other.
Right.
And even if it is a story you heard before that your great uncle has already told you 50 times, you'll learn something new with every retelling. So you listen.
Yes.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Joseph. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Victoria?
Well, all I've got to say is, because you guys have covered so much, I just want to say again, get the book. And I think that it is beautiful. My observation is, I love the way your stories connect the past with the future. I love the way it connects the animals with the humans. And it just shows that we're all connected in this great land called Earth, and it is just beautiful to me. So, in wrapping up, because I could go on and on, but you guys have just they've asked all the questions. You said everything that I wanted to hear, but this part. If our listeners and our viewers wanted to get in touch with you, how would they do that, and where would they be able to get your books?
Okay, you can get the books on Amazon. So if you Google into Amazon, search into Amazon for Old Grandmother's Tree and find it under my name. If you hit Old Grandmother's Tree, it may give you other books that are not Old Grandmother's Tree, but you got to find the one with my name on it.
Right.
And so that's one way you can find the books. But I also have a website, and it's a real cool website. It's called oldgrandmotherstree.com. It's written as one word, and there's no apostrophe in there. It's just oldgrandmotherstree.com. And at that website, you'll find links to buy the books on Amazon. You'll find French links to buy the book in French, because the books are available in French as well. And I also have a character Wikipedia.
So really?
Yeah. So if you want to learn, we want to get background and some additional information about some of the characters that are not in the book. It's on the Wikipedia, so you have to go take a look.
Oh.
And I also have a preview of the next volume, Volume 3. There's a preview of that on there as well. There's a biography of myself, a biography of Natasha, from Natasha Pelly Smith, the artist from Toronto. It's there as well. And you'll see a beautiful montage as well of just a small portion of the illustrations are in the book. So that's where you can find my website, and I have an email address. You can link. There is a link inside the um, website, or you can just, if you want to reach out to me, it's boltonje364@gmail.com. I'll be happy to hear from you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I have just and truly enjoyed listening to you speak in your voice about your books. And we always say here on Authors Up, nobody can tell the story like the author can. And you certainly have embodied that for us tonight. Just hearing about the background of why you did this and how you kept to the integrity of your story. I've just loved it. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Let me say, let me say one thing before we close too. Joseph, when you were talking about the child looking at something that just led them to something else and led them to something else, I must say that when you were talking about the characters in Wikipedia, you got this glint in your eye. I thought, it's that child that's discovering something and wants us to discover it too. So thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. And Ruth, you want to close us out tonight as you do so wonderfully every week?
Absolutely. Though I do want to acknowledge one of the comments we got. Not sure who it's from, but Joseph, you may be named after their hometown, Bolton, Greater Manchester, UK. So
Very
Right.
there you go. I mean, we are all connected. This world is not as big as we think it is. So
Right.
Very true.
Uh,
It's very true.
yes. So thank you, Joseph. Once again, it has been a pleasure having you on the show. Um, we want to thank our audience for joining us. We do have a podcast. This will be available on our podcast and on our YouTube channel. So join us there, Authors Up Show midweek. We also have Facebook and Instagram. So make sure like, follow, subscribe, all the wonderful things. If you have any questions, interested in becoming a guest, email us at authorsup@gmail.com. You can catch a replay of this broadcast on our Facebook page, on the ALH Broadcasting Facebook page on Saturday at 7 p.m. And I just want to put it out there. We're going to have a wonderful announcement pretty soon. So stay tuned for that. That's it.
Thank you for having me out today.
Of course.
Thank you.
Joseph, it's been our pleasure, and we're so grateful that we had the opportunity to do this, and know that your books are going to do well. I can't wait to read the upcoming volumes that
Yes.
you have, because I know that they will be just as unique and just as enjoyable as the first one.
Yes.
So thank you again. Thank you for being here. Thank everyone for joining. You know that we are here every Sunday night at 7 p.m. and every Saturday night for the replay of this show. If you know of someone who's just fascinated by the uniqueness of the storytelling, we've just been blessed here recently to have some of the most wonderful storytellers. And Joseph, we definitely put you right up at the top of that list. Thank you so much.
Yes,
so
indeed.
yeah. So you all come back next week. We will be right here in some form or fashion at 7 p.m. on Sunday night. Thank you again for everybody being here. Share the broadcast, invite somebody to come along with you, because one thing for sure, you never ever know what is going to happen when you tune in to Authors Up. Good night, everybody.
Night, Bronze Girls.